Hello there, beautiful people. So, my name is Carol, the Tarot Reader, and I'm here today because we're going to be talking about Oracle cards. Now, Oracle cards, I want to talk about the difference between them. Like, what's the difference between tarot cards and Oracle cards? How you could possibly use them, because I'm going to talk about how I use them and how I learned how to use them. So, I learned how to use them years ago. I went to a metaphysical store out in where was I? Out in Pasadena somewhere. And I went to this metaphysical store and I went in there for a reading. At the time I just didn't know I didn't know anything about tarot oracle, so I couldn't tell you what kind of reading I was going to get. I just knew I wanted a reading. And at that time, who was available happened to be an oracle card reader. And to me, it was all the same. I thought it was all the same. And so I went to get a reading from her, and she was just phenomenal. She was amazing. When I came out of that reading, I just came out feeling uplifted. I came out feeling better. Um, I Everything was still the same, but it was just a feeling like I got this now. I could go ahead and handle whatever it is that the issue was or the situation was, right? And because of that, I wanted to learn more about it, and it just sparked my interest for whatever reason. And immediately after that reading, I asked her, I was just like, what is the system, and can you show me and can you teach me? And she said yes. And so here we are today, and let's get into it. Let me show you. All right, Oracle cards. That's what we're doing today. So today, the deck that I'm using today is called Wisdom of the Oracle. This is by Colette Baron Reed. I just happen to like this deck in particularly. It's actually the second deck I own, and I just like it. So that's the one we're going to go with. But before we start playing with this deck, I want to talk about oracle cards. What are they? So, at its most basic, oracle cards is a divination tool where you could get guidance and clarity. What makes this a little bit different from like tarot is well one the well one tarot oracle cards are themed out. So for example, this one's wisdom of the oracle. I have also a Kuan Yin oracle deck here. These are just examples, mind you. I just want to show you different ones. Goddess Dream Oracle, Work Your Light Oracle. The point is that all of these decks, they're themed out. And you just pick whatever theme it is that's vibing with you, whatever it is that you're trying to look for. For me, it's always wisdom. So I'm going with this one. If I were to be doing a relationship one, then I would pick out a relationship themed deck, something like that. But what makes it also easier is because it's a free system. So with tarot is an old system, so there is structure and there's rules to that system. When it comes to oracle cards, there isn't. Anybody could build an oracle deck if you really wanted to. So with oracle decks, the thing that you want to pay attention to when using them is the imagery, the wording, because that's your key word. That's your key word that tells you about the card, and that's what makes the card easier to use versus tarot cards. Um, they won't have, like, for example, this isn't going to have a key word. You're just going to have to look at the imagery and know what it is, using your knowledge and intuition basically to get the message from here. But in this case, you have a key word and the imagery and numbers to go off of if numerology is your thing. I don't do numerology, so I don't focus on numbers unless it's. I always associate it to tarot if I do work with a number. So that's that. So the first thing that I do when using oracle cards is I set the space because I like to set the mood, right? So how do you set the space? How do you set the mood? You could use you could follow your corazon, use really what you want, but I like to use stones because that's just my vibe. You could use music to set the vibe. You could use smoke, sage to clear your space. That's always a good idea because it gets you grounded and gets you focused into what it is that you're doing. Stones and crystals is my jam. That's why I go with this route. And what I do is I just, for example, here, all I got is a cloth and 2 stones, and that's it. That's setting up my sacred space. And then I get grounded. And I always use 2 stones. The reason why I use 2 stones is because I like having 1 stone to be my grounding stone, because I like being grounded. And then the other one just to help me with my intuition. This is very protective stones. The amethyst is good for your third eye and your crown. And I just like it. And so what I do is I just hold the deck and I set the intention. And the only intention that I set is that I'm setting up a clear, a safe space for me to work. And the way that I do that, I just call on my spirit teams and I say, hello there, spirit team, spirit guides. At this moment, can you please set up a safe space around me so that I may work by setting up white light around me. And so it is. Simple as that. And I knocked on it twofold, 2 reasons. I knocked on it, one, because it's a way to clear the deck. And I like that. 2, it's also a way to like kind of saying hello to the deck and knocking, because you're going to be asking for advice. It's like walking into somebody's house. You should at least say hello. And then that's it. I set up my area. I'm now in a safe space. And I'm going to pull 1 card. So I'm going to do a 1 card draw and a 3 card draw. It's the most simplest things that you could do. Before we do that, let's talk about shuffling. So how do we shuffle? So I'm going to show you how I shuffle. I normally do it 3 times because that's just how I was taught. So I just kind of stick with that. 2, 3, you do not have to do it this way. There's no fancy way. Follow your way. As long as you find a way that works for you is the only thing that matters, because you can't go about this wrong. And then I divide into 3, put it back together in no fancy way, and whatever the first card is. And that's the card. Now, another way is what they call a jumper, where basically you just shuffle and you just wait. Like you see that literally came out, and that would be the card. Going round and round and round in circles. All right. Now, another way of shuffling is you just shuffle until it feels right. So I have a lot of friends who this is their to-go-to method, where they literally just shuffle until it feels right. And then when it feels right to them, they just stop. And that's it. I like doing 3 and then dividing into 3 and putting it back together, because I don't have to think about it. It just is, and I just trust it. And it's always worked for me, so I stick to it, and that's it. Now, let's say you're not good at shuffling, you don't like shuffling, or for whatever reason. Fanning them out is also another favorite method of mine. You just fan out the deck, and you put your hand over the deck. And basically, whatever it is that feels right to you, you go with. And if that sounds too confusing, don't worry about it. Just pick a card. You're not going to pick the wrong one. And that's your card of the day. I mean, if that's what you're pulling for. If you're pulling a card for the day, that would be your card for the day. Okay, now let's talk about the 1 card draw. Now, the 1 card draw, this is like the most simplest way to read for yourself, to start getting the habit of learning and building intuition. And just, getting the habit of getting to know you through the cards and building a relationship with the cards. So let's do a 1 card draw. I knocked on the deck, shuffle, 1, 2, okay. Normally, before I shuffle, you're supposed to set the intention and ask a question towards a specific situation. Maybe you want a little bit more clarity, or what do you do about a specific situation? When I do that, be very, very specific in asking the question. Try not to be so general, and so you can be broad, but try to be specific. Now, if you are going to be broad, then my advice to you is that when I ask broad questions, then I would just ask simple questions like, what advice do you have for me today? And that's it. Versus being very specific. So that's how I would keep a general question. And I started shuffling again. I don't know why. So my card of the day would be observer. So here I would look at the image, and I was just I'll pay attention to what's actually happening here. I see a fox who's literally absorbing the sky on an egg. And the word is observer. So today is just very, very straightforward. Just pay attention to what's around you so that you don't miss out on something you need to be paying attention to. And that's basically it. Now, if it ever gets confusing to you and you're like, I don't know what this card means for me, then what I would suggest is you literally go and get your guidebook, because your guidebook will tell you exactly what that card means. So when I read for myself, I don't like to make things difficult. I like to keep things simple and straightforward. So I set the intention that whatever it is that the author meant for that card to mean, let it mean for me. So I would go to number 49 and I would just read it, and that would be what my message for the day. And I would just go and do that. I was gonna look for 49, but I don't really want to waste my time with that. Okay. However, if you're reading for others, I don't use the guidebook. I don't use this guidebook. When I'm reading for others, I use my intuition, and I use what I see and what I read and what I feel. That's how I go about it. The only reason why I use the guidebook for myself is because I don't want to leave. I just don't want to be confused. And yeah, that's it. I don't want to be confused. All right, let's do a 3-card draw now. Now we're going to do 3 cards. Now with 3 cards, it's very simple. We're going to do past, present, future. I love a 3-card spread. It's very simple. And there's a lot of different types of 3-card spreads. However, this is the most known, the most popular. So here we got 3 cards. You got past, present, and future. Now the past, you got to look at the energy of the card and the imagery. So here you got the word why, and you got literally a woman with a question mark behind her and a book with wings in front of her. So basically, in the whatever past tense was, you're asking yourself the question of why am I doing this? Why am I interested in this? Why do I always end up in the same spot? And then here we're going into present. Now, what's the energy of presently what's going on today? Okay, going to the sea. What does going to the sea mean? All right, so now here I'm looking at the imagery. I'm looking at a woman. She's looking down, which to me that automatically tells me like you're thinking about something because you're looking down. And you see an arrow with the direction, meaning full speed ahead, but she's not looking at full speed ahead. And then you have some binoculars, which is looking behind, and she's not looking at that either. So what that's telling me is, yes, go to the sea, but go to the sea and also pay attention so that you could find and discover that unknown land. Kind of like Christopher Columbus kind of vibes, finding that land out there. At least that's how I would interpret this. If I was reading for myself, I would definitely just go to the guidebook and go with whatever it is the guidebook would say. Now here we're going into the present, into the future, the present, or the near future. And this is saying, I would once again look into the energy of this card. What is this card saying? I would look at the imagery. I see here, I see I'm going to say horse. I see a zebra and a little, what do you call this? I'm gonna say a little house, but that's not what this is. But it's on his back, and it looks like this looks like a fairy or some sort in here. A chance in the wind. But here, my understanding of this, just by looking at the imagery and looking at what's going on, what I would say is take a chance as into what it is that you're doing, because one, he's standing on a zebra. The zebra has stripes. It's clearly like, it's different. It's unique. It's something you've never been on. And it's windy and you're going against the wind. So regardless of the direction you're going, it's just like go, even if it seems difficult, keep pushing through. It says a chance in the wind, like take a chance and push through that wind, even if it's pushing against you. That's the future advice. And that's how I would read past, present, and future. Wow. That was fun. I hope that helps. And I hope you guys get some oracle cards and get to start playing with them and pulling cards for yourself. Well, there you go. You have a great day and keep playing with your cards. Bye.